Hello, School Transportation Nation. Tony Corpin here, publisher and president of STN. We're glad you made it to the podcast. It's brought to you by Transfinder, the leader in school bus routing software. With me today, I have President and CEO Antonio Civitella of Transfinder with us. We're going to be talking about the holidays, some big things happening over at Transfinder, as well as some big wins for the customers and community in school transportation. So want to dive right into it. Tony, welcome to the podcast, sir. It's been episode 191. We've been together for a few of these, huh?
Wow, 191. We're getting close to that 200-century mark. I love it. This is great. Good way to end 2023, and I'm looking forward to 2024, of course.
Yeah, bringing in some happy holidays. Christmas is almost upon us. I know Transfinder usually does its annual Christmas tree lighting there in Schenectady, and it's turned into kind of this thing of its own, hasn't it? You want to share with the audience what you do and the tree. When you say a tree, you think like, okay, it's like a little tree. You're like, well, it's big, maybe 12 feet, 15 feet. What are we talking, Tony? How big is this tree you're lighting on the street?
Good one, because obviously the debate, do you like, if you celebrate Christmas and you have a tree at home, is it a real tree or one of those artificial ones, right? Pre-lit, all that. Well, this is a real tree that we have a massive crane pick it up, and it's almost 35 feet.
Ooh, it's a monster. 35 feet.
I don't think it's the Rockefeller Center level yet, but we're getting there. And of course, we do it all. In the past, was other sponsors that would sponsor the tree. And by the way, I'm going to tell you, the tree sits there the entire season just before it's around Thanksgiving time. So Schenectady has the largest nighttime parade. And so the lighting of the tree to turn it on, the actual switch comes on just when the parade starts, and it stays on until we really take it down. And this year, they had to remind us a couple times that it's like, all right, guys, it's February. You might want to take that tree down. So, of course, we did. But why can't we just keep it on longer? It's lit the whole time. So, yes, 35 feet, almost 15,000 lights. So, at this moment, we pick out the tree. They cut it down. They deliver it. We rent these massive lifts and cranes so that way we could decorate it. We have pictures, and it's just fun. It's a lot of fun. And this year, we were honored to even have our governor present to start the parade and lighting a tree.
Kathy Hochul was there? I can't believe it.
Hochul was there.
That's amazing.
Pictures with her. I mean, listen. And I tell everybody, it doesn't matter what party you like or dislike, whoever's the president and they say, come on over, you go. Same thing with the governor. It doesn't matter. You forget that. You go there. So Biden, if you want to invite me at the White House, I'm there.
Yeah, well, these are amazing things, right? Did you ever think in your wildest dreams the Transfinder tree lighting would be attracting the governor of New York? That just feels like great. Wow. That's a wow moment.
It was wow, and it was cool because obviously Schenectady has really become a center for economic development, and we're proud to be part of the development. Really, Transfinders. We're right there in the middle of the city, and it's exciting. So, yeah, it was great. We have a great party throughout the parade. It usually lasts around a couple hours and ends with Santa Claus going through. It's just amazing. Right from our terrace, we have the best view in the world. We did invite the governor, like, hey, you're welcome to come up. And she's been to our place a couple times already. Really, it's been very good. New York's been good, but obviously, other states been very good to us too, but it's our backyard, and you want to make sure people like you in your backyard.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. Well, good job on spreading the holiday spirit and cheer. And I'm guessing that's got to be really a great morale boost for your employees and your staff. And I know school transportation is always looking for ways to, appreciate their staff, feel like, hey, this is a great place to work. We always like to hang our hat on that and appreciate the people that are working so hard for us and our businesses and our communities and supporting our children. So, I'm sure this was a big moment for your team as well, right?
It really is. Well, the base of this tree it's a cube about 6 feet by 6 feet. It's a full cube, 6 by 6 by 6 feet. And we have our logos and different things on all the sides. So people are taking selfies with the tree and our logos and it's got Santa using our routing software because he's trying to figure out the best routes to get the kids on Christmas Eve. It's just fun. And so you see so many people take pictures, of course.
Is this going to be a new finder, the Santa Finder? I have a feeling there might be a market for it. Santa Finder, something. I know there's the Santa Tracker. I think I do follow the Santa around my neighborhood, but I could use the Santa Finder. I think there's something to that right there, right?
Hey, look for some more finders. Why not?
Oh, good stuff. Well, you know what? It is about teamwork, and I know we launched a new idea with you in 2023 called Top Transportation Teams, and it was really your vision to talk about like great places to work, places that, man, we're doing a great job, but we're not always number one, right? It's hard to hear like maybe we're not number one, and you get feedback from your employees and your team members on how you can improve. And we did this great event at STN EXPO in Reno and had kind of a power panel, which was, and in retrospect, we looked back and it was the number one most attended panel discussion at STN EXPO, which is amazing, right? Because it was totally this idea that was hatched around, team performance, team appreciation, and really it comes back to the people. And wanted to kind of let you talk a little bit about for those that maybe forgot or recap, like who were the winners, who were those top transportation teams, and the people that are appreciating their staff, and hopefully that carries through the holiday season.
And Tony, that's such a big deal. We Transfinder just attended less than a week ago. We were recognized here in the capital region of New York State as best place to work, and there was a luncheon with other companies, and it was such a proud moment. It was our 5th time winning this award, but looking back, we didn't win every year, and so this is really the whole top transportation teams came about saying, "Hey, if you're not the top, why not? You want to find out what makes a top transportation team be the top." And so we had a lot of candidates, a lot of companies and school districts really registered to be considered top transportation teams. But we realized there's such a large amount that we just couldn't pick a single winner. So what we did is we broke it down to 2 categories: over 100 employees and then one fewer than 100. And so we picked 3. So the 3 from the over 100 employees were Franklin Township from Indiana, Klein ISD, and Garland ISD, both from Texas. And the winners under 100 or fewer employees were Marshall Public in Michigan, Pembroke Central School District in New York, and South Louis School in New York. And it was great. There were 6 people, like you said, Tony, on stage. And some of them I know, some of them, they don't use our technology, so I don't personally know them. And so you question, like, are they really top transportation team worthy? But when you start hearing them individually talk about what makes them unique, there was no doubt in my mind when I left that session. By the way, Tony, it was my favorite panel I've ever been on because I've learned so much from all of them. But truly, they deserve to be the winners. They talked about what they really did and as being humble and just making sure that the team is hearing you out. It's a collaboration, all those things that we all wish we could do. And, here's the end of years coming up and we think, what could we've done different? I had this goal this year that I want to spend more time with the team, more, maybe with family, and so forth. This is where these 6 individuals, that's what they do. They live and breathe being top people. And, getting an award for them, it was just like, oh, wow, I guess there's an award out there for this. So it was so cool. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to 2024. Look for emails from us to how to start nominating your school district or your bus company to the top transportation teams for 2024. I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be tough, Tony, to choose, but again, it was all mathematically chosen based on the ranking and the numbers. So we thought some people would won. Some didn't even, by the way, register for this. So I'm going to encourage more registration. Again, it was the first one. It's like, I don't know what that means, but every one of them went home with a beautiful award. Had a little steering wheel on it. It was so cool. So I was super excited for all of them. And periodically, they send me texts to let me know how great and honored they were and for the holidays and Thanksgiving. I mean, these are some special people. And again, not all of them are our clients. So therefore, I want everyone to know that you don't have to be a Transfinder client to be part of the top transportation teams. So get going.
So I know you mentioned even that they took those awards and even created their own press releases and shared it within their communities and their school boards and shared it amongst their staffs. And people take a lot of pride in the fact that they were the top transportation team. And, they also reflected probably on some of the comments that came back positive and negative, because there's always room to improve. I mean, I said that about our team too. I said, I think we do a pretty darn good job at STN, but there's always room for us to improve as a team, if that's with technology or processes or training. And, appetites evolve, things evolve as a company, and you have to evolve with it. And I think, school transportation, we deal with different things, driver shortages, right? Routing, tiering. I mean, there's a lot of pressures put on school transportation to be adaptive and flexible within organizations. And that puts stresses on staff to do that as well. And if you have a dynamic staff that is able to respond to the changing environment, you probably have a very happy workplace. If you have a staff that is reluctant to change, it's probably a little more adversarial, right? Because you're trying to get outcomes out of your team and they're fighting you. So, you hope it's the latter, right? You hope you get the better outcomes and a team that's more amenable. But this is all part of the process of management and looking back at yourself as a leader and making sure you're getting the best outcomes out of your team for student success and getting those kids to and from school. It's kind of a baseline, but doing it well and doing it cost effectively and safely, and those are always big factors that play back, because nobody really sees those little details. Everybody sees if there's a mistake and they magnify the mistake, but rarely do you get all the good. So bravo to you for recognizing people that are doing a great job. And I'm glad those districts that did participate took advantage of this opportunity to recognize their staff and use it as a tool to kind of level up their customer appreciation and their staff appreciation. I think this is all valuable when it comes back to it. We're always looking for unique ways to give back to the community and share our story. And this is a great way to do it. So I highly recommend everybody jump in and apply for top transportation teams for 2024. Tony, if I'm not mistaken, is that toptransportationteams.com? Is that what
right.
It is?
That's right. And Tony, I just want to tell you a couple of takeaway that, a lot of people are saying, it's the pay. Individuals are happier when they get more compensated. I can't lie. I mean, it definitely helps. But the number one complaint, I want to go back to how some teams were ranked and scored. There was some things that really stood out. And again, they didn't get scored highly from their team members, especially how they didn't feel they were part of the solution. They didn't feel like they were recognized. They didn't feel like they were heard. Those are the biggest things that took some of the transportation teams down, and they didn't get to win because their numbers were brought down, their averages. So I tell you, those are the things that, whether you participate or not, you want to make sure that you have a way that your team is good, great communication, and there's no such thing as over communicate. Just blast tons of emails and recognize people, but do it in a way that it's meaningful. But I tell you, when people don't feel like they're part of the solution, that to me tells me there's a huge disconnect, right, Tony? That they don't feel like that. In other words, they feel like I could help you solve some issues. You just don't even ask me. And I tell you, those are big. And the winners, I can tell you, they're using it as a recruiting tool. I've actually seen some of those people send me emails because some of them are clients. Guess what? They actually have the logo right in their email signature section, that they're part of that. And so they're proud and they're using it as a recruiting tool. So when you talk to these individuals, you're having a driver shortage, even before they won Top Transportation Team Award, they were not having a driver shortage like most of school districts in America are having. Then you wonder why, what's going on? There's just something about that. Again, I just want to emphasize, sure, hourly pay, of course, no one could turn that down. But majority of the time, it's about how you feel, how you get treated. And I tell you, Tony, those are a really big aha moment that I saw that we make a big deal about. We need to raise and the hourly, and it probably should some places. But the ones that did make it was mainly because they weren't treated as part of a team.
Yeah, so we talk a lot about trends, obviously, at STN, Tony, and you are living in the heart of some of the main trends, right? Like last week on the podcast, we broke down what were the top headlines, right? So we were talking about safety, efficiency. We were talking about driver shortage. We're talking about companies making sure you've got the right partners in place. And, do you want to talk a little bit about the top trends you saw at Transfinder in 2023? And then also maybe what is your prognostication? Is it more of the same in 2024? I know at the conference, we heard a lot about optimization of routes, specifically around energy, right? Like if you apply for this EPA round 3 grant, you got to have routes, you got to have efficiency. You got to have that built into your grant before you even, you can't do it without submitting this kind of detailed kind of performance overview of how your routing works, how you charge, what are the ideal situations. I mean, there's so many different unique use cases for routing, mapping, GPS tracking, student tracking. I mean, there's just so much to unpack there. What were kind of the big trends you saw, and where do you see it going?
Well, a trend that we saw this year in 23 was a lot about student tracking. And so about a year ago, we really made a big push to focus on one partner, one solution. And the industry is changing. In the past, we had a lot of partners, really the third-party vendors, and was great win-win for both Transfinder and different vendors, third-party vendors. But as the industry is evolving and it's changing, the one solution really means that routing is the core feature, the core functionality. But now, if you look at it as a wheel and a spoke, well, data has to go into different products. Navigation and attendance, we still have some third-party vendors are using that, but then we realized it doesn't make sense. So we're slowly are deciding to potentially stop working with some third-party vendors. Not because they're still good companies. We worked with them in the past. We still respect them. But to get the true solution, again, the routing is our core. To get that same information, the same routes, the same safe way to even get to stop 5, the approach, everything, to guarantee the door is on our right-hand side. Once that data left our routing system and went to a third-party company that could use other routing methodology, well, there's no guarantee that whatever they used for routing, it might not have looked exactly in our navigation system. And this is where we're getting some feedback from our clients saying, I like your routing, but the third-party vendor that you recommended a couple of years ago, they're still good, but they don't match your routes. They don't match your path. It's like, really? Wow. So how do we make this more seamless? And then we've invested heavily to make sure we have routing, navigation, attendance, all of these parent apps. We are investing significant investment in these products to make sure that they're at the same level that our third-party vendors that we recommended in the past. But it's not just to be at the same. We want to be better. There's a lot of companies out there, a lot of school districts out there still using third-party vendors. And, we're not saying change that, but anything new, we recommend look at us first. We want to make sure that the quality of everything, you're talking about safety, you can't have a weak link anyplace. So we are really pushing this one company. It's one partner. It's us. And we are responsible to make sure safety is not just in the routing inside the office where the routers and the dispatchers are using. It has to be, that data's got to be across your operation. So really it's been a massive focus on this one partner, one solution. And we've seen this trend to see that our clients that, like the idea of having all different solutions, they realize, well, I could go to you. I could go to you for the entire solution. And a lot of times, what's the saying? It's the jack of all trades, master of none. We want to make sure we don't fall under that category because we want to be master of all the trades. And we want to make sure that we are the best in all of those because we control the quality and we control the outcome. And safety is number one. As we, again, core is routing. Everything off routing has to be the same company. This is where we've been pushing very hard. And I see it. Tony, our clients and our prospect are seeing it. They're saying, so you're telling me if I go with everything Transfinder, then I could, if something doesn't go right, I only have you to blame. And of course, the opposite could also be that if everything goes well, we're also get recognized as that we were the solution that was great. And so we've seen a huge trend. So we saw a lot with navigation. And again, navigating the same system that did the routing is the only way I can imagine at this point. I can't imagine this. And I've actually talked to just this morning with a client of ours that's using third-party vendor. They build routes in our system. They look great. But in the morning, they have a whole staff of people that take the other product and they change the path to make sure it matches our system. And I told our client, like, you do all that work every day? Oh, yeah, we want to make sure that the driver doesn't go the wrong direction. It's like, don't you think it's inefficient? Yeah, but that's all I have. I mean, what else can I do? Well, you could use our solution. That way, once you do it once, it's set it and forget it. And it's like, what? What do you mean? I don't have to adjust the navigation app path to match yours? Nope. There's no such thing. It's one system. So these are things that we've seen a lot of huge trend. Again, attendance, the RFID cards, we're having a lot of fun with those things. We really are having tons of fun with that, and our clients really want that. And they want a solution that's affordable and it's scalable. So that's a massive trend. And I think it's not going to slow down at all. I think it's going to be bigger.
What about the trend we've talked about it before, which is cloud-based hosting versus on-prem hosting? I know we've discussed that multiple times. Have you continued to see the transition to cloud?
Tony, I actually don't even see that anymore because it's past. That's almost old news. The way we see it at Transfinder, we're almost 80% of our clients are only cloud. It's really there's some school districts out there that still have, they're still on-prem. But at this point, do we even talk about film cameras versus digital cameras? Is that even in a conversation anymore? I mean, my iPhone 15,
no way.
Right? It's so honestly, I don't want to knock on-prem because we have about 20% of our clients are still on-prem, but it's really talking about the film cameras versus the digital cameras. So really, at this point, it's past that. It's all digital, right? It's all digital cameras at this point. Nobody buys a 35 millimeter film.
Well, what about tiering? What about trends in tiering, right? Because we've heard people, okay, maybe you were a 2-tier, 3-tier. I know Goose Creek. We had talked to
Hmm.
Rick Walter-Scheid down in Goose Creek, because I know one of your customers. He said, "Oh, I'm 4-tier," and I kind of like shook my head. And that was a few years ago at the
Hmm.
Transportation Director Summit in Lake Tahoe. He's like, "No, we're 4-tier." I think the whole audience was like, "Wait. How are you 4-tier? How does that work?" I mean, these deep tierings seem to be more and more of the trend. Yeah.
Yes, Tony. The problem with tiering is bell time, and so number one reason what any school district ever consider tiering their routes is to save on vehicles, of course, and drivers, because you could use the same vehicle and driver, just keep them on the road more, more often. The problem is, do you have the correct bell time? And this is where Rick is. He's a bulldog when it comes to this, and I tell you, and it's a compliment. He shares with his principals, let them know, all right, in the morning it's not bad, but it's the afternoon, it's going home. So he shares with all the different principals saying, hey, you're tier number 5 going home. So I need you to make sure that kids are boarding the bus by this time, because if you're 5-10 minutes late, then the next tier is going to be that much later, and then all of a sudden by the 8th tier, by the way, when it's 4 tiers, it means 4 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. That's 8 different tiers, so the bus is doing 8 separate things. Clearly, when you get to number 5, it's the afternoon. 5 is like 10 minutes late. 6 is going to be 10 minutes late plus its own. Can you picture by the 8th, which is the last tier of this day, you could be an hour late and the kids are like hanging out at school. So he made the school principals to be part of the solution. I need you this time, when you know it, within 5 minutes, kids have to get on a bus and be efficient. That's the only way you could put this off. We have a whole professional services team that actually could help you do this, but it comes down to, do you have the right bell time? So, Tony, it's been a trend for a while, but I think some schools have realized, unless they change their school bell time, they have to stagger them. They can't pull it off. And that's really the biggest thing. So, yeah, I think tiering is the way to go. It's always been an option, but we're getting to the point that I don't know if you could do any more. I mean, Rick is part of uh, school board meetings. He talks about, if we could just change this school start time or end time, right? And he gives them like, by just 10 minutes, I could do this. And that's the type of seat at the table that we always want transportation directors and leaders to be part of. Because if you could just change this one school bell time or this tier, I could fit it. And that's what Rick does. He analyzes right down to minutes. And with GPS, he's notifying the administrators at that school, hey, we're running 10 minutes late. Can we figure out how to make up that 10 minutes? So you see, Tony, that's how you could pull it off. 4 is a little bit nuts for sure, but as a compliment, he is extremely disciplined. He has his entire team knowing we can't lose a minute anywhere in there. So it's extremely efficient.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Well, just to shift gears a little bit, I just want to kind of extend congratulations. I know this year at STN EXPO in Reno, we have our basically the attendees vote on best products, right? And we've got 4 different categories, and you took home the award in 2 of the categories this year, best software and best hardware. So congratulations to you and your team at Transfinder for winning those awards at STN EXPO this year, our Innovation Choice Awards. We will have those again in 2024. So got to have new products, and I know Transfinder is always developing new products and things of that nature. So I'm sure you'll do your best to put your hat in the ring again and participate. But I know you've won a few other awards recently for your Wayfinder and Stopfinder apps. You want to give us a little detail? What's the story on that?
So Wayfinder is our driver app, which is for navigation and student tracking, and Stopfinder is for our parents. It's a parent app, so they could see how far the bus, when the student boards, they could see all that information. They also could have a two-way communication with transportation team. They could, they could get notified. And by the way, speaking of notification from our Stop Finder product, which is our parent app, so our product automatically sends the messages. We're calling them geographic alerts when a bus reaches a certain distance or whatever user-defined information that the parent does. They get notified. All right, the bus is here. The bus is 10 minutes away. Those type of things. In 2023, and by the way, we still have a couple more weeks left, at least one more week, I know, almost 37 million messages were sent to parents. What does that mean? One potentially in the morning and one in the afternoon. So that's a lot of it's really an eye-popping statistics in my point of view that we're getting that many. Of course, you got July and August, not too many, right? We're probably below 1 million messages, maybe even less. But you're talking about the month of October and November this year were the record amount. So I expect next year to more than double this. We're probably going to be over 100 million messages that our system is sending to our parents. So those are things. So we received an award from Best Educational Apps from Education Technology Insights. Again, it's for Stop Finder and Wayfinder. And really, because of the unique things we're doing, not only are we sending these geo alerts and we're sending any type of messages if the bus is running 10 minutes late and so forth, but we're also introduce a whole new thing that's called the estimated time of arrival. So in other words, when a driver is using our driver app, and if they're using our app and they're following a path, it's all great. As soon as the parent says, hey, I want to know exactly when they're 5 minutes away. 5 minutes, by the way, as not as a crow fly, but as the driving path. They get notified. But even if the driver drives off path, again, this is where I don't mean to get into the weeds too much here, Tony, but even when the driver goes off path, our system reroutes immediately using the best methodology. And so now parents could see, hey, it was 10 minutes. Now all of a sudden something happened. The driver took a different turn. It could be 13 minutes away. And these are the type of things that we introduced this year. We just released that new functionality that's literally it's true estimated time of arrival. It's not just when when the bus reaches a certain shape. That's what all the other products are doing, and that's what we do too. It's called geo alerts, but now we're going directly to as a path. As if you use navigation systems in your cars, it gives you estimated time of arrival. Well, now we're pushing that data nonstop to parents. That way, when they're saying, I want to be notified when it gets 10 minutes, they get a 10 minutes. So very good stuff. So yeah, we're winning a lot of awards for sure. We're getting recognized, but obviously that's 23. And we got to keep moving because 2024 is going to be an even bigger one.
That's right.
We did release we went into a brand new market in 2023. We really want to be part of the safety. We want to cross the board. So for the school resource officers at the school, we create a great product and really starts with the police. That it's called Patrol Finder, and that information as patrol officers are driving around, we're using that technology there's some really amazing things we're doing with, and you're going to hear a lot about this product, but what happens on the road and the streets about, protecting the citizens, that information also falls into the school resource officers on what's going on and the safety officers and all that information. You're going to hear a lot about a whole new thing with schools and police. It's called Handle with Care. And Tony, I've learned so much in the past couple of years, really working with police and school resource officers. One of the biggest things that I've really never even imagined this. And Tony, we're grateful that we're in a family that wouldn't have this situation. That something happens, little Tony is home, police comes to his house, something happens to, maybe it's dad or mom's boyfriend or something happened at the house. Police had to come in. It was 2:00 in the morning, and they got arrested. Someone got arrested. Little Tony, 10-year-old kid, had to witness all this stuff. So there's a new program that I really want to be behind this, and I want to just encourage this, that we want the police officer to simple form, which is using our technology, that it's handled with care. In other words, let the school district know, hey, little Tony witnessed some bad stuff. When he comes to school tomorrow morning, it could be another few hours, handle him with care. And Tony, there's just so much about this that I never imagined. That you're talking about safety. You're talking about kids, by the way, getting on a school bus. They were suspended and they're still getting on a school bus. Or no one's checking. Now with the RFID card, we know that this kid's got suspended. They're not supposed to be on a bus. Right away, the driver knows, sorry. And so we don't just say you're suspended. We put these different icons and alerts. Not just maybe you have bee stings, which, you're allergic to bee stings. Okay, I get it. But this kid is suspended. So don't make a big deal about it. And we train the drivers saying, the little icon that's, it's more something that they know, doesn't have a big message, student is suspended, and we don't want other people to see that information. But that's the type of things that we've learned that we need to do a better job, better software for this industry. So yeah, Patrol Finder is such a powerful system. Tony, I've been at the police department that now they have a map. It's our technology. A 911 call happens, and it's a weapon. Somebody with a weapon. You could see that pops up immediately on our map, and there could be something going on with it, whether it's a school shooting. There's just so much with this. So you're going to hear a lot about this product, Tony.
Powerful. Yeah, we talk a lot about school resource officers on this podcast specifically because security and safety are paramount, and a lot of the issues we talk about incidents with drivers, but incidents with students or gun violence or, students carrying weapons into schools or on school buses, SROs, school resource officers, are definitely talked about a lot. We've had many at our conferences. We get school resource officers that come to STN Expo, which is great that, it's full circle because we're already communicating with this audience. It's just necessarily there hasn't been a product specific to that audience that has a direct tie-in. And obviously, if you're talking about a student experiencing something that is potentially affecting their emotional state in the school system, you are communicating with administrators, transportation to understand that student has to be handled with care because of this situation. Because, really a lot of times you don't know what's going on in the home life of these kids, and they could be acting out. There could be illicit behavior. They could, bring a gun on board because they're reacting to being bullied or something happened at home that is impacting them. And if there's some other way to communicate that to transportation, I feel like that's a very good conversation to have about leveraging technology for purposes of safety. And school transportation loves to hang its hat on being the safest in the industry. And these things only make us safer, and a clear line of communication. I can only see that being a good thing and exciting. But it's been a heck of a 2023. We're heading into Christmas. We want to wish everybody happy holidays and bright time, a happy new year as you look into 2024 for all the good things happening, and enjoy your time off, a little family time, take off, enjoy some good food, some presents. If you don't celebrate Christmas, you're maybe doing Hanukkah, that probably ended for you last week, but we wish you well and a happy new year. And Tony, thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your view as one of the leading technology companies in the school transportation industry, and really giving us your views on the trends in the market.
Oh, well, thank you. Listen, I hope 2024 brings you lots of love. Definitely continue to laugh. We want to be as happy as possible, stay healthy, peace, and of course, prosperity. And try to take a moment during the holiday season to reflect what you accomplished in 2023. It's always something I'd like to do. Look back and look at how was 2023. You want to set 2024 goals, make them reasonable. Don't go nuts. I know maybe you want to lose 30 pounds. Start with 10 pounds, right? Make it reasonable, but we've a lot to be grateful. Tony, thank you for the opportunity in 2023, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, if you want to catch up on the latest articles and information, go to stnonline.com. We've got great articles, webinars, white papers, partner updates, news stories, lots of breaking information on the latest earnings reports, and all the great things happening out there in school transportation land. Nation, this podcast brought to you by Transfinder. We greatly appreciate them for being our podcast sponsor from episode number 1 to all the way to 191 and beyond. So thanks to Tony and his crew for being there with us, and want to thank you, Nation, for listening and being loyal listeners. And make sure and share this podcast out in your universe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to pods. You can catch up on the latest episodes of the School Transportation Nation while you're on break, because you definitely want to hear all the great things we're doing in school transportation, and catch up on our articles and latest magazines. And don't forget to keep an eye on the STN website. We have the 2024 Buyer's Guide and January editions dropping in early January, so keep an eye on our website for those. Nation, we love you. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.